Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Efficiency University. We talked last time about how to make macros, how to do them on ECW, which is an outpatient software that we use. Uh, Today, we're going to see how to train your Dragon to say macros. The Dragon is the voice recognition software that we use a lot, and it's very helpful to have your macros on the Dragon. We shall see how. All right, so to create new macros, what you need to do is from the tools section on the bar of the Dragon, which is usually on top of your page, you have to click down to add new command. Now this will make a new window appear, and that window is called My Command Editor. There are several options that we need to be aware of and things that we need to do when we create a macro. The first thing is naming your macro. It is important to choose a name that starts with the word macro. The reason is simple. If you choose something else, for example, here, steroid injection, if you just choose steroid injection, then and you train that as a macro, then every time that you say the word steroid injection, whether it be in history of present illness, in treatment section, in procedure section, whatever it is, then the Dragon software will think that you want to post your macro over there, and it will post the text of the macro there. So in order to avoid this, you want your commands to be very specific by starting with the word macro. And then the second thing is under it, the rectangle in blue under it, is the description of the macro. You need to put in a description that will remind you of what you have in there. That will appear when you look on the list section of your macros, of all the macros. It will appear when you hover with your mouse on the name of the macro. It will show you what the contents are and what the description is. The third part is the train, and obviously it's important to train your macros, especially if the word that you chose as a name for your macro is a bit unusual or has something that is not easily recognizable. You want to train it so that your Dragon doesn't have a problem identifying it when you're saying that macro. And then number 4 is the content, which is the most important part. You can put any amount of information there. Here, as you see, I chose to put in a description of the steroid injection procedure from start to finish. Now you want to do it as neat and as nice and as complete as possible, but don't forget to edit if you've made any change to this particular scenario, this particular text that you have posted here. So editing is very important. Now what I would not recommend is putting in a place or empty bar or empty space for the side, because you frequently forget to do that or to come back and fill it in. Instead, I would recommend that you would just have it one form that is reproducible and perfectly repeatable with a gender neutral name or gender neutral description of the patient, so that if you want to afterwards or before posting the macro point out which side you are injecting in, then you can customize that by just putting in just like a comment of this is an injection of the right knee, for example, and then you put in your macro. That way it makes it less likely for you to forget to edit or to forget to put some important piece of information as the side that you are injecting in. And the last thing is, don't forget to save, because if you did all this work but you forgot to click the save button on the lower part of the screen, then you will lose all the information. And one particularly obnoxious thing to happen is if you X'd out of this window without saving by clicking on the X on the upper right side. That would make you just lose all the information. You don't want to be in that situation. All right, now after you've made your macros, how do you edit them? Let's say that you recognize that one of the macros is not good, or you want to change some phrase in it or whatnot. So you go to the Tools section again on the bar, and you go down to Command Browser. From Command Browser, when you click on it, it will display the list of all the macros you have created. As you can see here, you have all the macros listed. As you can see, I have a lot of macros that I've created. They help me a lot. And then you can hover over one particular one. It will give you the description, and it will give you the content of it and information about that specific macro. Now, the question is, which one is better to have? Is it better to have an EMR macro like we saw last time, or is it better to have a Dragon macro? And my answer would be both, because both of them have their uses. So the Dragon software macro is usable across multiple EMRs and apps, which means wherever you get a cursor, you can put in the macro. You can put it in an email. You can put it in the history section, in the exam section. You can put it in inpatient EMR, outpatient EMR, doesn't matter. Wherever you can get a cursor, you can use the macro. The problem, though, is that it cannot be used in particular situation. Let's say, for example, you are engaged with the patient in conversation. It makes it a bit difficult to put in the macro using Dragon. It's not impossible, because one information that a lot of people don't know is Dragon can be used on laptops with built-in mic. You don't have to have a microphone attached or a dictation piece of hardware attached to your laptop. Actually, the laptop has a built-in microphone. This is how I'm actually dictating or saying this presentation, through the built-in microphone of the laptop. And so you could definitely activate your macro in your Dragon in that way and say the name of the macro, but it's a bit awkward to use it during the encounter with patient. It's much better as you're having the discussion with patient, as you're talking with them, that you would put in the macro in the way that we mentioned last time. So obviously, having both the EMR macro and the Dragon software macro is helpful, because you use them in different situations. And one key to success and to be efficient in documentation is to try and get as much as you can done while you are in the room with the patient. So for that purpose, you want to be able to do preferably the EMR macro, and then when you are done, and let's say there are certain elements that you haven't finished up, then you can use the Dragon software macro. I hope this presentation has been helpful to you. Please do not forget to register, to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, share, like, and if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section of the chart. And have a good night.